I was just talking to our one of our translators who was telling me that these teams are really good friends. They practice together, you know, even though we have these teams separated as LATAM North, LATAM South, they just they're a region together, you know,
right.
in their spirit. And so we can take a look here first at Fusion, one of our first representatives who has gone nearly undefeated the entire weekend.
Yeah, and historically, right? Like, they are the faces of success in Pokemon Unite. I mean, barely missing a single tournament victory. Last year only missing one, but then of course we have Rework, Respawn on the other side. Your Aeos Cup playing champions, the runners-up in the March Cup. But now here at EUIC, they have made it all the way to your winners finals. And they are so excited, of course, like you mentioned, to be playing up against some friends, some rivalry. Let's get into it. Game number 1 of your winners finals.
Only one of these teams is going to remain in winners after this, but it's got a long set ahead of them. First ban of the day is going to be Crustle for these teams, I should say, in this matchup, and Mimikyu second.
Yeah, okay, we're definitely watching LATAM now. This Pokemon is prioritized extremely highly within this region. It's why you're going to be seeing it banned. Sylveon banned as well. Buzzwole being the final ban will leave Leafeon and Blastoise available for selection in the draft screen. 2 high priority picks, but Eldegoss and Hoopa also very contentious for those top selections.
Yeah, now, I know that especially back when we were at single bans, before even the last buff, I guess I could say, for Leafeon, a Pokemon that is used so much in all of LATAM. So
yeah.
This is one that I know that both teams are absolutely going to be vying for. Like I said, Reggie in particular, I know, has been a huge player of that Pokemon, so understandable why they got it first. And then, like you said, Blastoise available to the other side. They've got to take it early.
Yeah, they're going to grab the Espeon as well. Of course, a Pokemon that is extremely highly rated, but is going to give up on some of the more power pick support Pokemon. I say that as Blissey is the first support grabbed in this draft. Fusion is going to lock that in, probably to pair well with a dive target like Leafeon. Bliss Assistance gets even better when your intended target is all the way in the enemy backline because it hits so many targets on the way there. But Wonder Chef, we get to cast Reggie Zoroark.
That is very, very exciting. That is a specialty character for sure. Really excited to see that Pokemon. Also, may I note, the Slowbro, I think a great option. If you're going to give away the Leafeon, just based on how the bans go, being able to solo target out the Leafeon with a Slow Beam, very good. And
to ensure your Zoroark's success as well, really protects you against this. It actually enables them to consider the Comfey as this final selection. Comfey and Zoroark, an incredible duo, and it looks like it will be locked in for Rework Respawn. Comfey Zoroark is kind of having that 2-for-1 power level, extremely valuable on Pokemon Unite, but the shutdown Unites like Mimikyu's Play With Me or Slowbro's Slow Beam, both of those make it so that the Comfey cannot do anything. You have no ability to press any of your buttons or even detach off your intended target. A 2-for-1 in power level, but also 2-for-1 value from the Slowbro.
Well, they're not going to have to deal with that because they're the ones who are going to have it, and I do like that a lot. I mean, this is a focus for sure with both of these team comps that are going to be focused a lot around having one particular powerful speedster, right? The Bliss Assistance, of course, is going to have to find a really good target, most likely, ideally, going to be that Leafeon, assuming it can manage to not be stolen away.
Yeah, oh boy, here we go. Fusion versus Rework Respawn. I called it the El Clasico. I know it's the first time we've had this on broadcast, but it feels just right between these two teams. A player to watch is, of course, Reggie. I believe you called this out, right, at the start of our broadcast.
I did.
Zoroark, Scyther. We've even seen a few other speedsters from them, like in this game. We're going to be seeing the Zoroark, though. On the other side, though, the player to watch on Fusion is going to be Tempo. They are going to be playing the Trevenant, a top path role for them for the most part today. I do love their Dodrio. I really hope we get to take a look at it because Tempo's Dodrio in that top path is a very exciting option.
I love Top Hat Dodrio, but here we go. Winners finals, Fusion on the left, Rework Respawn on the right, LATAM South and LATAM North. Let's see who comes out ahead in game number 1.
The winner of this goes into our grand finals, guarantees themselves first or second place, but also has that winner's side advantage as well, in a position where this grand finals is awarding more than we have ever seen in a Pokemon Unite tournament. I cannot stress how important having that winner's side advantage is. That's what's on the line in this matchup.
That's right, $100,000 in total on the line. And so we're going to see how these teams start off. We're getting some relatively free scores up here for Sherlock, who's going to run very far south, trying to maybe see if there's anything they can steal over in the center area. And they may get a chance. This is going to be a weird little low-power attempt to get the last hit, but it's going to go to the, well, now Blissey. A great way to defend that EXP.
Yeah, but at the very least, Chaos has that experience share, isn't able to share that EXP at all with the rest of their team because of the urgency that Sherlock was able to enable on the enemy side. They are going to pay for it, though, as Anemo is going to strike first. I believe the K opener going over to Fusion as Leafeon, the first one to take a knockout.
Sherlock going pretty far forward there, but now they've got to deal with this initial combo. This is what we're really looking at basically this entire game. This Zoroark plus Comfey is going to be so hard to deal with. I mean, they just disengage. You know, even though they had 3v2 technically, you don't want to even try to risk it. But you can kind of force it if you are the Zoroark, who's going a little bit far forward, trying to see if there's anything they could find. Decided not quite worth it right now.
Yeah, oh man, this duo just feels so iconic with any of our in-person events. NEIC and EUIC both. This duo always shows up, the Zoroark and the Comfey. A lot of their moves require expert timing and aim, which is really tough to do in some online tournaments, but these in-person environment is just a perfect enabler for these high-skill Pokemon. And wow, the most rewards are given to the viewer because I love watching Zoroark and seeing the amazing mechanical prowess that our players have.
Oh yeah, I'll always hold on. Let's look at this right now. Speaking of Zoroark, Reggie is playing super good defense, and that was an invincibility with the transform.
Yeah, it's going to use that passive ability of illusion. Every 30 seconds, Zoroark will have access to that, and pro player Zoroarks are able to dodge instances of damage, instances of crowd control by using that illusion to transform into a different Pokemon momentarily and avoid something like a Mew boosted auto or even a mean look from an Umbreon. If you're able to time it perfectly, you can ignore the stun entirely.
It's exactly what you were saying. Right now, though, Reggie diving in on two. Tempo's going to be hard to take down here. I mean, this is a lot of sustain for these two targets, but this is Zoroark, and it is already level 8, so it's got that big level advantage. If we can catch out this Blissey, that could be a very juicy target. Going to quite easily take that one down, running just a little bit further to say, okay, well, at least get away from my Trevenant. We've got to get whatever we can out of this situation.
And Rework Respawn actually showing a lot of focus on the Regieleki. They're not going to have any presence on that bottom side. In fact, they've already lost a goal zone down there, which must have been to a pretty large overdunk, seeing as Fusion is sitting at 141 points already. Defending against the Regieleki will be standing the Blissey and the Trevenant, and Leafeon has just showed up, but in that moment, Anemo takes so much damage. Regirock's shield does get put onto all the members as soon as it's KO'd, but Reggie is undeterred, gonna find that Leafeon in the backline.
Yeah, I mean, the Reggie shield is nice, but a Comfey is a whole lot nicer. They are going to be able to take down that tier 1. The overdunk was not super significant. You can see they're still down by 32 points, so not the worst thing in the world. Okay, they are going to slowly get a little bit more. We actually saw the Slowbro Coleman dunk in the tier 2. That was a little bit rude, just out of nowhere. Like, oh wait, I wasn't done. I've got a little bit more for you.
There you go. I actually really love what Rework Respawn is doing with this draft strategy. They are behind in the scoreline, but they've been putting so much pressure on the top side. Despite having an evolution that you can try to power up, they understand they don't want one hyper carry in the Zoroark. They want to make sure they're also enabling this Blastoise of Sherlock, who is doing extremely well. They have level 9, they got access to the Hydro Typhoon, and now they can enable this Water Spout Rapid Spin. Not going with the pump, which we've seen got very, very common, just going all in on the damage numbers.
Yeah, anytime that you've got a really strong assassin, you really like to kind of sandwich a team, or a strong brawler. Realistically, either way, it just works together, right? If you've got a Blastoise that's really strong, a lot of times they can get kind of focused because it does have to kind of slowly spin in. If you've got a strong assassin, sometimes you just turn around and get focused. But if you can sandwich teams, that's when the pain really begins.
Wow, and okay, we actually have the Espeon running that big damage burst move with the Psyshock instead of that sword power, where we normally see that for the consistent damage. Instead, we're going to have a more powerful secure option from the Espeon, but it will take some better aim and some better timing to execute well.
I like that a lot. The secure on the side of Fusion is extremely strong. Of course, Solar Blade, or realistically, sorry, any move that we have from Leafeon, and on top of that, Mew are both great options at getting secures. And of course, always got to say it every single time, #1 secure in the game is always going to be Egg Bomb.
Oh, of course, yeah, it's already in the game. It's locked in, so that's why we need Espeon to even compete with the unbelievable Egg Bomb secures. It'll be Solar Blade as well for Leafeon. So speaking of secure options, we definitely have those in spades. Of course, Mew Mew has a few moves that are exceptional at secure, depending on the situation. Electro Ball, my personal favorite because it does splash damage and is a little quicker to use rather than Solar Beam.
Yeah, Solar Beam just a great threat, but right now somebody's going to have to get it secure. The Hydro Typhoon is coming out along with the Phantom Forest, and this is going to be so much AoE damage included, especially with the spin. We're going to see Mew go down on one side, but two traded away on the side of Rework, Respawn. They're still pretty healthy. The Comfey is still up, sitting on Sherlock on that Blastoise, but it's going to be the Trevenant to get the final hit on this Regieleki. 45 HP left on this goal zone. They are going to get a good opportunity to break it down if they can get this Regieleki in. A few more reinforcements coming back. Comfey finally going down as well as Sherlock on the Blastoise. So they've just got a little bit of defense here, but it might be enough to at least stop them from really considering going for this push, especially with Zoroark coming back.
Yeah, Reggie's back in the mix. Unite move right in the face of Oblivion, but they take a full Solar Beam. That is meaning that Reggie has to retreat all the way. Illusion to try to dodge that Mew boosted auto. I do believe they got hit. You saw Slowbro from Minato desperately running to try to cut it off, but a bit of miscommunication between the two members of Rework Respawn means that you're not going to find that value. It's all right, though. No knockouts were occurring in that moment, and now it's the race to the bottom side. So far, the only member that is going to be approaching that basement Reggie is the Leafeon of Fusion, who's already doing damage to that objective. Have to imagine that is going to be an easy Fusion basement Reggie.
Yeah, and that's really important because the levels are very even. I mean, currently Fusion had one level just slightly over above Rework Respawn, but in that meantime, actually, we did manage to hit 13 first in the game for Reggie on the Zoroark. So again, levels very even, looking to try and, not even close that gap, maybe widen the gap, as Reggie's actually going to back up. Realizes there's a few too many targets, as I love that Fusion. Two members coming from the bottom, two members coming from the top, just collapsing kind of defensively.
Yeah, if we're going to talk about level 13s, I am shocked that Tempo is sitting on that at Trevenant right now. An unbelievable power spike for them. They are looking huge. The damage numbers they've been able to output are massive, but more importantly, I think their Unite move has been a perfect answer to the Blastoise. Channeling it during the Hydro Typhoon was the only reason that topside fight even remotely went their direction, and this Horn Leech has been fantastic for displacement, something that any good Unite team really needs.
Yeah, and by the way, we are 10 seconds away from the final stretch here. Looking at this game, it is incredibly even. 29 points difference, which is absolutely nothing in this game at the 2-minute mark. The levels are just one away at maximum. This is as close as you can get going into this final fight. It's all going to be about the engagement, and already we're starting to get a little bit of poke, maybe playing a little game of chicken on the side of Fusion, but hey, with all the Pokemon they have there, I don't know if they know, but they could probably just burn this down at this point.
Yeah, but as soon as you burn it down, you're inviting both an Espeon and a Blastoise Unite move into the mix. That's so much crowd control to have to contend with, so they have to be extremely careful. If they are going to go for the Rayquaza, it needs to be a very open and clear option, despite having the secure tools, because you know that Rework Respawn is going to be trying to utilize those defensively. A back cap, though, is going to change the scales a little bit, and Reggie going to try to take full advantage as well. 46 points in is going to give Rework Respawn the lead again, despite the back cap from Tempo.
And Sherlock actually went in to get a back cap there to sneak the way, but the slow beam on the Leafeon, that's huge. First KO going to the side of Rework Respawn, and they're going to continue with the engagement. Multiple members chasing different members of each team a different direction, so this is immediately split up. Not going to be a huge AoE targets. Mew's going to be the second one to go down as everybody's reconverging down here in this lower bush, and this is a huge Phantom Forest, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. It should be able to keep them up at least long enough to delay this, but they do not have the lead on the side of Fusion.
Wow, I mean, as soon as Leafeon is eliminated from that team fight, the brawl and the skirmishes just favors Rework Respawn so highly. You have the Comfey Zoroark duo that can fight on one side, and the Slowbro Blastoise that can fight on another. Comfey gonna take credit for that knock as Leafeon is down, and Reggie gonna throw even more in that goal zone. There's still 30 seconds left, and we do have Sherlock getting to work in the middle of the map as well. Blastoise able to take out the Trevenant, and with that, it looks like we are looking at Rework Respawn starting our match 1-0.
Just not enough time to come back. Great defense there in the middle as well from Sherlock. There was an attempt slightly to burn down that Ray, but I mean, what else can you try to do at that time? So a great, solid final 2 minutes for Rework Respawn to go up one game in the set.
Leafeon getting caught out in that final fight and just Rework Respawn executing picture perfect Pokemon Unite. A slow beam used on that Pokemon, even though Leafeon only had a sliver of HP. You easily could try to communicate to your team, get someone to knock out that Pokemon, but why run that risk? It's worth using a resource like that to confirm that knockout. Incredible start. Awesome. Also, hello to everybody in the venue. Thank you so much for supporting the competitive Pokemon Unite, because these teams are so excited to be playing on this stage. Rework Respawn, a little more excited right now.
Oh yeah, but they should be. That was well earned.
Yes.
Again, a lot of times, especially in these super close matches, we do see it come down to one final Ray fight. But that's not really what it came down to. So much of what was set up was the back capping from Reggie on the Zoroark, of course, alongside the points that the Comfey brings as well. So it just set them up in a situation where it went from a nearly deadlocked tie to a situation where they were able to really push any advantage that they had. They made Fusion come to them and go into unfavorable positions for the final fight.
Yeah, it felt like the big bright spots were from Fusion, were from this Trevenant tempo, taking these moments to really slow down the enemy. Great Horn Leech pushes. They were going Curse as well for just an extra damage option in the top path, and maybe even an extra secure option. You can even see them trying to ignore the Hydro Typhoon with the Horn Leech plus the Unite move. All of that channeling, giving them unstoppable. But in the end, I mean, yeah, Tempo having another moment here, another KO streak of 2, but it's just, again, this team came a little bit shy when it came to Rework Respawn's incredible aggression.
Incredible aggression. I mean, I do love, you can tell that that these teams, though, have played each other a lot. They definitely were not overextending, right? I think that's a big sign of two teams that have definitely fought each other a good amount of times, is that you're never going to be like, oh, if we move out here, or we'll be okay. And then you're like, wait, we're not. They were really good at defending. It's like these teams know exactly what the other team can do as far as responding to their own aggression. And so nobody is going too far. Nobody's getting caught out in silly situations where it's like, sorry, I just gave up a free KO. They just know each other well. They know the pacing, and it's going to be down to the minuscule little moments.
Yeah, absolutely. You can even see that grass not landing on Umbreon, the only reason it couldn't get away. So big Comfey moments lined up in this matchup. And this felt like when the match was truly sealed up. When Reggie was able to win a few skirmish team fights with the help of their Comfey, score a little extra, and make sure that they are ensuring Rework Respawn's victory. Because what a showing from them. Now, we are going to be headed into Game 2 soon. Fusion had pick number 1 in the draft phase in Game 1. I have to imagine that's going to be happening in Game number 2. Before we get into the draft analysis, let's talk about Reggie as the player of the game. How could we award it to anybody else at this point?
Yeah, I mean, not only with, of course, the scoring with all those back caps, but with so many KOs, so much damage, and of course, that should be happening when you've got a Comfey on you. You know, if it's not happening when you've got a Comfey on you, there's something going wrong in that game. So, but knowing that you can have a player like that you can focus on is huge. And as we get into draft number 2, I really want to see what Fusion can do to try and shut down a combo like that. Are they going to steal away Comfey? Are they going to steal away Zoroark? But then there's Leafeon still potentially on board. Obviously, going to start with the bans.
Yeah, we've seen various answers to that, right? And all the way back in NEIC, we saw some banning of the Comfey in the past, and even just recently, Nemesis actually counter-picking the Zoroark to slow down Shin and Rude. So there's definitely options for Fusion. I know for a fact they have some players quite confident on the Zoroark themselves, so we could see that exchange. Now, bans are going to be extremely similar. The Crustle going to be on that list.
Yeah, this is pretty much exactly the same. I'm really curious about the Sylveon bans, which is not the first time we've said that today.
No, I know. The Sylveon, it seems like Latam and Brazil just know something about this Pokemon that I am not totally aware. But all right, the first change will be Fusion banning, or sorry, not banning, but selecting that Blastoise, eliminating it from Rework Respawn. Now the answer is going to be up to Sherlock, what they want to bring into the top path. They do have access to Leafeon. It feels wrong to leave it on the table, but I am curious for what their top path option is going to be.
No way you leave Leafeon. That would be wild, and it is going to happen. They're going to take the Espeon on top of the, I mean, just choosing to support that early, honestly, in general, with the Eldegoss is very surprising to me. Now, Fusion, you've got to choose it. Please don't let the Espeon go to the 4th pick. Oh my goodness, what is going on? Everybody's just giving it up to each other.
And at least you have the Slowbro. I honestly would have loved for Blissey to be omitted from that piece of the draft. Grab Slowbro and Leafeon would have felt like a very confident option, and no way does my pin. Oh. I was so excited. I was like, my meta roast pen, it's going to be real. But that's okay. I'll take a Meowscarada. I'll take a Meowscarada, and I will absolutely take a Snorlax. Last time you and I were the ones who were able to cast Rework Respawn, and that Snorlax I was talking about so much. You got to remember it if you want to hear Snorlax commentary. That was last time, because this time it's going to be all about the Trevenant commentary.
Well, maybe the other side will choose Snorlax. Who knows? We'll get a triple defender. Maybe we'll get double on the other side. We actually could potentially. I mean, realistically, I think there's a good chance that we could see something like that later on. I mean, we're probably going to see the Meowscarada end up going to Reggie. We're actually going to see the Zoroark on the other side, so the potential speedster switch is there. However, obviously, we didn't get the Leafeon picked. Well, hold on.
We might.
Can we just stop talking about this draft? Every time we say something.
Double speedster is a actual viable option. You don't see it into double defender too often. It's pretty tough to make happen, but it is locked in. We're going to have the Meowscarada and the Leafeon, Espeon, Trevenant, and Eldegoss, the entirety of the composition for Rework Respawn. Fusion bringing their own Zoroark to the match today. Blissey to partner, and we of course have Zynos locking in the Inteleon. A Nemo on this top path Blastoise looks honestly devastating into the enemy. This Blastoise, if it ever gets to the power spike, which will be difficult due to the early game pressure that Leafeon and Meowscarada can provide, because I do need to remind everyone at home, this is the first Unite tournament you're tuning into. You probably haven't seen too much Leafeon because of how frequently it's banned. You're about to see why. That Pokemon is one of the earliest and fastest clearers of the central area. It allows it to be a threat, even while coming through the central at the beginning of the game, into a path 30 seconds, 40 seconds into a match, which is just unbelievably powerful. That is such a strong factor that this evolution can bring to the table. And we have another Pokemon similar to that in Meowscarada on the same roster.
Yeah, I'm so interested in how this Meowscarada is going to do. I mean, knowing that it's Sherlock playing it, I'm assuming we're going to have a top path Meowscarada, but there's a lot of different ways that they could split up the center area EXP, having two different evolutions, and then deciding where they're going to send all their early aggression, because this team is just early aggression in a nutshell. That is just so much of what it's going to be. Obviously, they're strong late as well, which is a great draft, but we'll have to see.
I can't wait. Basically, two dive-centered compositions on either side. We're truly casting a LatAm match today, Wonder Chef. I am pumped to get into it. One side's got the double speedster, other side has that hammer and anvil of the Zoroark and the Inteleon. What a matchup we're about to witness.
I can't wait. And I love the fact that we now get to see such a switch of which speedsters are being used on which side, so everybody just gets to show off so many different things. But starting off, we are, of course, going to see this currently Sprigatito up on top.
Cutest Gen 9 starter, by the way.
Absolutely agree. Exactly what I chose. So,
all right, good. We are agreed, but look at this. Minato on the long-range invade, trying to keep tempo from evolving into that Zoroark and have them remain at the Zorua. With the Leafeon double invade, though, they have to abandon ship, and now you're starting to see the pressure that Leafeon can put onto a team early.
Yeah, when I was talking about early aggression, that was exactly what I was talking about. We are going to finally become Zoroark, but you're in a kind of scary position. It is higher level than this Leafeon, but if you get caught out one more hit, one more hit is not what they're going to let happen. Great dodge on the Solar Blade.
Yeah, Tempo, I believe, actually gave up their illusion after the first engagement of damage as well. So that's a lot of resources they don't have to utilize in the next team fight. Minato, though, is taking a lot of damage from the Zoroark, but with that Leafeon there for defense, they have a free retreat option. Zoroark is going to try to make it up with a basic auto from the Eldegoss. It was Gossifleur at the time, by the way. A Gossifleur auto attack is going to be sending the Zoroark back to base.
Hardest carry as usual, but everybody's going to be retracting a little bit. There's a lot of center EXP still for Rework Respawn, so they decided maybe the invasion should end for the moment. The bottom path has been a lot more passive, of course, with these Pokemon that we have. There's not a true way, I think, to really aggress a Slowbro and Sobble lane too much, at least early in the game.
Bottom path is always defined about your ability to get last hits from range. Usually that's where you have your mages, so they're going to be kind of standing on two lines, Civil War style, trying to last hit some wild Pokemon. I did my history. I know what the Civil War was like. But now we have another war taking place in the center of the map as that first round of birds at 8 minutes is able to be emitted. And finally, it feels like Tempo is able to earn themselves some experience. The Flower Trick does land on them, but it's just a little bit of damage until you do it yourself with auto attacks or otherwise. But Tempo takes a ton from that flower trick. This Meowscarada, as soon as it gets online, is so tricky and so powerful. Hard to lock down, and it hits just as hard.
Yeah, and that combined with everything else in this team is so scary. I feel like Trevenant is such a key part of this team for enabling a lot of this damage, and we can see it right there. The Woodhammer's great escape, though. Once again, Tempo has been able to get away from so many KO situations. It's actually unbelievable so far.
Yeah. Oh no, and Nemo goes down. I was just about to talk about the fact that the Blastoise has been avoiding getting KO'd, so they might achieve Blastoise a little bit quicker, but the aggression here, Rework respawn, crashing into the goal zone, a snipe shot blocked by Minato. Amazing heads-up play from the defender. They see that red line of aiming from the snipe shot. They make sure that their teammates are not getting their scores interrupted. Fantastic defender play from Rework respawn.
And look at this, immediately transitioning from taking the tier 1 goal zone to taking the Regieleki. Of course, that is a direct benefit to take that tier 1 goal zone first. So they like got the points, they've got the Regi, everything's looking really good for them, except right now there's a lot of pressure coming from Fusion, realizing that they probably were not able to compete in that top path.
Right.
They've got another way they can go.
And this is a great choice from Tempo. Your Zoroark, honestly, there are few Pokemon that they can't win in a 1v1 battle against. So a split push from the Zoroark is always going to be in the benefit of Fusion. If they run into a Evolution or even an Eldegoss just roaming the map, that would be free experience for them to take. So good adaptation by Fusion. They're certainly not out of this game. The early game has been all Rework respawn, but the scoreline has been kept close, and at least their Zoroark is still doing well in levels.
Yeah, we also, oh, there we go, the attack coming out from Meowscarada just to try to get out of there, and it's going to do a good job of it. Not a full chase down on the Eldegoss. Eldegoss can be a little bit scary by itself, but Tempo is definitely becoming kind of the powerhouse of the game. First level 10 on board, and they are just, wow, that was, wait, where did it go? Oh, it was the, I got tricked by the double team, great.
Oh no, double team illusion. There's a lot of trickery going on, and Sherlock is having a tough time defending against this goal zone. I don't believe they know Reggie's there, and they can jump in with a perfectly played Emerald two-step, but the Bliss assistance is gonna take the KO. Incredible job from Kea and a Tempo to work in tandem to find that one, and now it's up to Minato to try to defend this goal zone, but they are working on borrowed time as Blastoise and Zoroark carve through him. Anemo and Tempo, what a duo as they shatter that top tier goal zone.
Ooh, we've got the fun fact in the bottom too. 140,000 damage almost is the max damage anything has gotten, and it was Espeon, which was earlier in this tournament. Right now, it's going to be the one defending on this tier 1 goal zone, as right now we are seeing Sherlock chased down. Great way to evade, and I mean, really, you're right. It's going to be so tricky with those two fighting against each other. There's going to be a whole lot of dashing around, a whole lot of illusionary tactics.
Well, the tough part for Meowscarada, in fact, is with the double team, you're actually giving Zoroark another target to reset their dashes off of, right? So using double team is actually devastating sometimes, because all of a sudden, Tempo just gets free dash resets on the Zoroark and is able to chase you down to, well, essentially eternity to find that KO. So definitely Zoroark favored in that specific 1v1 matchup. We will see a lot of those immediate reactionary Unite moves from the Meowscarada, like we saw before, because you can with that Unite move cooldown being so low these days.
Yeah, and that might be pretty dangerous as well. If the Zoroark is kind of in that area, you don't really need to lock it down with the AoE from that Unite move. We are going to see, I did not realize they were kind of sneaking that down there, but the Espeon's going to be confirming that Reggie Ice, one of the last ones in the game, Regieleki, looking like it's probably going to be going to the side of Fusion. We're seeing a few members from Rework Respawn run up there to try and steal it back. They are going to get an opportunity, and it will in fact be Sherlock to take the last on the Regieleki.
Okay, so Meowscarada going to steal that Regieleki away and send it towards this tier 2 goal zone. With their attempt to score as well, this could be massive to give Rework Respawn a lead at the moment. We're going to have Psyducks dropping the Inteleon Unite move to defend this goal zone, but that's a couple more used in tandem for Rework Respawn. A Trevenant Unite move hits both. Of course, Espeon the first one to enable that, as Rev is attempting to dunk 50. Perfect surf by Draken to stop multiple targets. They're going to slow beam that Espeon, but they are not going to stop the goal zone from shattering. Eldegoss throws in 40, and just like that, another lead change in our game 2.
Oh my goodness, this is still, I mean, even with lead changes, it's extremely close.
I know.
32 points so far with 1 minute left to go till the final stretch, and the level's not very different either. Actually, I think it might be exactly even. No, just very like one difference between the teams. So I expect that we're going to probably end up in a similar situation to the last game, which is great. These teams are such even matchups. You love to see it in a winner's finals of one of the most difficult tournaments of all time for Pokemon Unite.
Oh wow, Sherlock's going to try to chase down Tempo. Of course, the Flower Trick landed Illusion, cleansing that bomb above their head. So we were talking about trickery, it is going to be happening quite frequently. Zork going to carve through these wild Pokemon, get to their level 13. We talked so much about how those were important power spikes, and good news for Fusion, the Blastoise is also hitting that benchmark.
Yeah, just in time. 25 seconds till the final stretch. A little bit of defense being staged up by Fusion in that top path. They're looking good now. Looks like the basement Reggie will be spawning, but you're going to have to take out so quickly.
Look at this positioning from Rework Respawn. There's 10 seconds until the objective, and Fusion is so busy knocking out wild Pokemon, they don't have an ounce of positioning. Rework Respawn has all the map intel, all the field of vision, and of course positioning around the Rayquaza. I'm not saying they're going to want to burn down Ray, but getting into the Ray Pit is just going to be a challenge in its own right from Fusion.
I've talked about this before, but Rework Respawn's map awareness and the choices they make based on that are some of the best, if not the best, that I've literally ever seen in my entire life. And they're using this positioning to make sure that they have 100% vision on every path that anybody can approach. The only person kind of sneaking by is almost that Zork, but they're actually going to meet up in the tall grass for the 1v1. And like you mentioned, this could be a little bit of a tough 1v1. Both Assassins, though, getting very, very low, and the snipe shot from downtown catching the quick Meowscarada is going to set this up as a quick 5v4.
What a call out. You got to shoot where they are, where they're going to be, not where they are. Incredible shot from Inteleon, and now that's the go button to start hitting into Zoroark. Already brought down a little bit low. Minato does get a double stun with that Woodhammer. Unite Move only lands on the Dragon. A little bit of a low value move, but Blitz Assistance is going to grab that Blastoise. Now is Fusion's time to try to focus on this main objective. Minato trying to slow them down as much as possible. They are in the Ray Pit. Leafeon all the way on the top side. It is so incredibly low right now, and it's going to go over to the side of Fusion.
And they're going to take down nearly the rest of Rework Respawn. Only Eldegoss up to defend. Just like a repeat of last game, we are seeing some scores late in the game from the Zoroark, but it's on the different side this time, and Fusion setting themselves up in a basically unlosable scenario. Everybody on Rework Respawn currently KO'd. I think we're going to a game 3 here.
What a shot from Zynos, able to take out that Meowscarada. Of course, that little engagement, Sherlock forced to check that tall grass because they no longer had vision on the Zoroark. They had to find them. They find them, and that 1v1 forces out their Unite move. They don't have it for later, and of course, Zynos able to just eliminate that Meowscarada. And of course, after that, it was just kind of curtains, one-by-one team fights, and slowly pressuring the Ray at the same time, forcing Rework Respawn into an impossible situation and forcing themselves to be the victors. Fusion ties up our match in the winners finals 1-1.
To quote myself, maybe 45 seconds ago, I said, I am so happy that this is the winners finals for one of the most difficult tournaments that Pokemon Unite has ever seen, ever. The history of the game. And between these two teams that have had so far 2 games that were essentially deadlocked until the 2-minute mark, coming down to basically one decision from each team to tie up not only the games, the set. It's so perfect, and we're going into just this penultimate game.
And these two teams both invited rosters as well, right? They started the season so hot in the Aeos Cup play-ins. LATAM North, where Rework Respawn are hailing from, had over 130 entrants for their tournament. A huge tournament to try to even qualify for this event in the first place. Fusion obviously having an amazing tournament in their own right. The path to this winners finals was obviously difficult within this event because of how much talent we have under this one roof. But honestly, it started so long ago as well. These teams have proved themselves again and again and again. I don't even know if I can predict a winner at this point. What a bounce back from Fusion.
Nowhere near close to being able to predict a winner. Like I said, this might be the closest set that we've had all day. I feel like everybody's game plan was working out for them. It doesn't feel like there were any situations where any team was severely outdrafted.
Yeah.
It was all just about how each little thing went for every team, and it was going very, very even. Like I said, the level leads have been non-existent at the 2-minute mark. The point leads have been basically non-existent at the 2-minute mark. It has just been this dead back and forth, which is literally nobody could guess what's going to happen. I mean, this is the first big opportunity for one of these two teams teams to throw out something super surprise, right?
Yeah, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I just had to rewatch that snipe shot at that Meowth Ferrotic, an unbelievable moment.
That was
okay,
a game winner.
I want to watch this. Oh my gosh, I was trying to see why the Espeon wasn't in position to secure. Take a wild guess. It was the Zoroark. Making sure that Pokemon was not available. Incredible jump from Tempo, the player on your screen right now. That Zoroark, like, response pick, I mean, if you want to attribute this to sports or something like that, that's like the effect of your opponent went on a crazy run and you just dropped the three-pointer while looking him in the eyes on the other side. You can do the Zoroark, so can I. 66,000 damage, a scoreline of 206. They were getting value throughout that matchup.
Yeah, so far, both Tempo and Reggie, both of them, when they're on the Zoroark, highest score in the game, potentially highest damage in the game. I would say overall just kind of working as carries, exactly as intended. So, a big question now with Zoroark being, I don't want to say the deciding factor, but on the winning team both games, is it going to be banned out? Will one team higher prio it than earlier, or will we just see it go to somebody uncontested?
Well, Chef, you won't have to wait for long as we are headed into the initial draft phase of game number 3, and for the first time, Rework Respawn will be in the first pick position of our draft.
All right, well, that gives them a lot of opportunity to do something fun with the bans. They're going to initially go for the Mimikyu, very solo targeted. On the other side, you've got to give the respect to Buzz.
Yeah, I was wondering if we were going to see the Sylveon ban again, but no, we are going to be locking in that Zoroark ban. So we've seen enough from Tempo. This could be an easy Leafeon ban, but both of these teams have been letting that Pokemon slide a little bit longer. Looks like Nemo is going to choose Blastoise for the squad. Now we are looking at our 4 bans. Our first pick could definitely be that Leafeon, but who knows? Last draft we saw it fall all the way to the end.
Yeah, I like the Blastoise ban. They did not want to give that to Sherlock, I think, as the first pick. But there we go. It's time to see. Please, please show us. You know, we've watched so much Pokemon Unite from every region. I did not understand yet this ban on the Sylveon, and now it's first pick, so they're staying consistent with how high they prio it.
Yeah, I mean, is it better than Crustle? Who knows? But apparently so are Slowbro and Blissey on the other side. Actually, to the credit of Blissey, that was one of the major factors of Fusion having so much success last game. Rework Respawn going to be locking in that Eldegoss, my preferred support, and it looks like they're going to be backing it up with my preferred tank pick as well. The Crustle is just such a formidable Pokemon these days, which, if you are a Crustle fan of Pokemon and you are just turning into a Pokemon Unite tournament, this is new to this year. Season 3, Crustle has had a moment. I'm talking a big one. Huge spotlight. We've loved all the Crustle action, so keep it up.
All right, we're going to see the Chandelure come out, which is pretty interesting since Inteleon has not been banned nor picked already. Glaceon as well. So with how well we saw Fusion do with the Inteleon, they're like, nope, we're going to shift completely. And I'm assuming it's based kind of on what they're seeing on the other side.
That is a lot of damage that can just rip through big HP bars. Reggie is going to lock in the Decidueye. Very cool. When you have no Speedster on the other side, you can feel very comfortable at that long-range damage. Double Bird!
Double Bird. Oh, I love the bird. Triple Bird! Although kind of it's 5 if you count each head, but that's actually something Dodrio cannot do physically.
Oh, no.
Exactly what you just did. But I'm very, very excited for this. First of all, can I just note, for anybody who's been watching Reggie, assuming Reggie is mainly just a speedster player, Reggie does have an extremely strong Decidueye. I've seen it before. It is incredible. And just is able to switch on a dime. We're going to see some amazing Spirit Shackles. And we haven't even been seeing that much Decidueye this game, but that is going to be a nightmare for Chandelure.
Yeah, definitely. Glaceon obviously having that built-in protection with the Snowcloak passive, but one thing that I am going to be looking forward to in this matchup, Wonder Chef, is Dodrio versus Talonflame top path? Are you kidding me? Very, very interesting. Both of these Pokemon are going to be stacking as well with the attack weight. So squishier options needing to get to those goal zones and dunk in some points. And you're right, we could see some lane assignments change a little bit, but both of these Pokemon need attack weight stacks. They are going to be forced into the early game to find small goals.
Yeah, that is a very strange, this is a generally very strange meta. I was saying this is the first opportunity for some unexpected picks from these teams, and boy, we get a lot of them. Again, I'm actually, despite all the weirdness, I am mostly looking at this Sylveon to see what it brings to the table that is so highly valued, that has been banned so many games, and then finally unbanned, and then first picked. So we're gonna have to see. We're at game 3, 1-1, winners finals. It's time for one of these teams to make it into our our grand finals, but only one can make it.
All right, that winner's side advantage, so important. We've talked about it at length, but now we are going to see who can take it out. Glaceon going to be the initial Pokemon into the top path, allowing the Dodrio to clear some wild Pokemon in the central area first and make sure they can add an extra head to their repertoire.
Yeah, I like that a lot, just being able to kind of say, oh, you know what, we're okay. We're going to split this up so that our power spikes hit exactly even. Really, I would say not aggressive top paths quite yet, though. We're not going to have the immediate, like, oh, yeah, we're just going to have an Espeon just jump up, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of KOs.
Fletchling does do a lot of damage, though. With that acrobatics, they can dive in and take some of those wild Pokemon that you just saw there. A lot of the contestable wild Pokemon going in the favor of Rework Respawn, despite having a Glaceon, that level 4 power spike, on the other side. But all right, this is where Fusion can really tip the scales. A Dodrio already double buffed up, both red and blue, has found their way to the bottom side. Steven checks one of those pieces of tall grass, but they have no vision yet. They have not checked that top Elbush at the Ray Pit.
Ooh, and here we go, finally going in, and it's going to be Tri-Attack off the bat. Misses the first few hits, does manage to land the enhanced auto, which is not going to be quite enough to get the full KO. Could have gone a whole lot worse, and so Rework Respawn got to be pretty happy about that, kind of accidentally dodging that Tri-Attack.
Yeah, dangerous territory. However, with Tempo playing on that side, it allowed Glaceon to get a lot of the wild experience in the middle with those birds spawning in, and of course, slow down Sherlock on this Talonflame, who is still at the Fletchender spot right now.
Ooh, that's a little bit tough. We've got to see that pop off, but also on bottom, we're still looking at a Litwick, I believe. Or no, maybe it is Evolve. But we are going to see at least the first push to try to get a few points in that 14. Oh, just barely stopped. The AoE damage coming out from this Fletchender is going to be very, very nice in defending these goal zones and making it hard for really anybody to score. We're at 0-0.
And then Nemo has built this Glaceon to be so counter-dive in every single way, right? You have the Snow Cloak passive that we talked about before, but they have gone Icy Wind as that main build. They don't want these shards to be ignored. They're just going to go for that burst damage. So Icy Wind going to find that KO. Sherlock going to be sent back to base.
Yeah, and also there's a lot of manual blocking potential from the Crustle, I believe, so maybe they just want to make sure that it doesn't end up happening if they do need one of these back targets, because there are some very juicy, squishy birds on the other side that they are definitely going to want to burn down. But in the meantime, we're playing pretty safe. We have scored a few more points on both sides, but everybody just trying to hit some more power spikes right before we hit these first Reggies. And of course, this center EXP is going to be really nice, but again, not a full overcommit for anybody.
Man, the more this match goes on, the more I'm really falling in love with Fusion's composition. I think this Chandelure with Flamethrower, while being a risky pick, is tough to land on the Sylveon or even the Talonflame, but everybody else is pretty easy and a devastating attack if it does land. Of course, Flamethrower resetting its cooldown if you hit the explosion hitbox onto any Pokemon, either wild or enemy.
And we're just going for this last hit here, and it's going to be the Glaceon going to last hit on that Regieleki. That is huge for Fusion. They're going to be trying to push this down. The defense is pretty strong here, especially with the fact that Reggie's going to be able to kind of back up. If they can get away unscathed, and they're not going to be able to. A full dive from Fusion. They're going to try to make sure that nobody's out of there. A ton of points on the ground as well. They can set up, some sort of overdunk. They're getting a little bit more, a bit at a time, just making sure, getting those extra stacks, and eventually this is going to go very much to them with a gigantic overdunk of, I believe, 25? Or wait, did they do math wrong? No, that was 25.
Yeah, honestly, just get stacks in the Dodrio at any point you possibly can. That is going to be so important. On the other side, only 13 points scored in total. Reminder, Sherlock is running the attack weight on that Talonflame. So having no attack weight stacks on their bird of choice. I believe the Decidueye has gotten some, though, on the bottom path. Reggie is doing quite well in levels, almost at that level 9, but Tempo is at level 11 right now, shutting down so many targets. You got to see a really cool maneuver before with that jump kick, and you see it again. Why not use the Talonflame like a Goomba and just jump stomp over them? It's perfect.
Switch places with them, but this is a lot of birds trying to find a lot of other birds, and right now I'm telling you the three-headed bird is stronger than the two birds with singular heads. It is finding every target that it wants. The Hyper Voice is doing a pretty good job, barely staying up. Wow, I'm surprised that Sylveon managed to be quite so tanky, but in the meantime, we still see so much aggression from Fusion, not only on the top here that we've been watching, but down on the bottom path as well. They got a gigantic overdunk on the tier 1. They're up by 243 points, and they've got some points even in these tier 2 goal zones.
Where Fusion just don't have Rework Respawn just don't have an answer for Tempo. I mean, level 12 on the Dodrio knocking on the door of level 13, and we're 5 5 minutes into this matchup right now. No options whatsoever to shut down this Pokemon. Finally, we have the Decidueye getting stacked up at this point, and Reggie is almost at level 10. These Spirit Shackles are threatening, but we haven't even been remotely in position to capitalize off them.
Right, I mean, you can't be super far back behind the fight if there is no super back far behind the fight. Like, you are just the target the entire time, and maybe Rework Respawn can make something different happen if they can group up and get into one big coordinated team fight, but at the moment there's so much pressure on them from Fusion that they're not even close to being able to get that situation. They are just playing defense, they are just playing from the back foot, they're playing catch-up the entire time, and Fusion's not even letting them do that.
Yeah, you get caught off trying to split push, you're going to lose a fight to Dodrio. You try to bulk up and take a big team fight, you're going to get free Chandelure flamethrower resets otherwise. Fusion are just really covered for every situation, and this early game lead is doing wonders to help with that. Blissey Unite move will be utilized mostly for the Blissey at that point to keep up their HP, as Tempo keeps on swinging for the enemy side. Rework Respawn currently have 3 members in that very respawn as they are coming back into the map, but still, Fusion, again, never punished for these pushes onto these tier 2s.
Not only that, during that, they took the basement Reggie and then destroyed their bottom tier 2 goal zone in the middle of that fight. Okay, finally a KO, a return KO, obviously the most important target as well for the return EXP. That's going to be a first great step, but again, they are down by almost 400 points. That is one of the strongest leads that we've seen, which is so surprising with how close this set has been.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Sherlock getting that KO does put them all the way up to level 12 on this Talonflame, so a much mightier threat than previous, where they were struggling to get to double digits in the first place. So Sherlock, obviously, much more powerful in this set. Is going to be taking a page out of Fusion's book and trying to chase away and steal a blue buff, if at all possible. Takes the fly damage towards the Dodrio, which will be giving up that blue buff, but really that was their only means of escape, and even that was shut down. Fusion with the great collapse.
Yeah. That 1v1 was looking okay, though. Honestly, if they can find a situation, Rework Respawn can find a situation where they can maybe catch out like the Dodrio early in this final team fight, they could potentially win, but they have to basically get a full team wipe. We're 45 seconds away, and it doesn't look like they're going to be catching up on points at all. So they've got to get every member of their team, essentially, to score. And even then, if there's a counter score and every single member of their team dunks in a Hundo Burger, they still lose.
400 points for Fusion, 1 goal zone remaining for Rework Respawn. They are going to still try to fight over this objective. Fusion might let this one go through. That being said, we actually got Dodrio on the backside. Tempo with a big flank triple trample through all 4 members, ignoring the Talonflame Unite move in doing so. Their Shadow sneaked on, but they're still jumping back in that fight as Fusion is being just so strong in this fight. Big Surf from Draken to try to slow down the enemy targets and land some damage. No KOs on either side, but quite the skirmish nonetheless.
Yeah, and the Regieleki actually went in up top, but everybody's going down to focus on Rayquaza. We do have the Knock Knock, the Unite still available from the Decidueye. On the other side, the Slow Beam. We've got the Chandelure.
They're just flipping.
Yeah, you've got to at this point. It's going to come down to a last hit, and you really truly have to win this, but there's so much CC coming to the other side. 3 members down from Rework Respawn, only 2 left. Even if the fly takes it at this point, it's going to be tough to make happen, and that's not even going to be an option, as Fusion will get the full team wipe, take Rayquaza with already a 350-point lead. It's only going to grow.
Fusion from LATAM South with a dominant win in game number 3. Game 1 and 2 were extremely close, neck and neck between these 2 squads, but something different happened in this 3rd game in this set. Fusion come alive and absolutely lock down against Rework Respawn. With a minute left on the clock, I know technically this game is going to continue on, but a scoreline of 880 to 71 is just certainly unnavigatable from Rework Respawn. They will be headed down to your losers bracket. Fusion will be remaining in the grand finals.
Wow, I mean, well, technically there you can almost come back if the other team kind of just stops playing, but even at that point, it doesn't look like this is possible. The players have somewhat ended their attempts to even get the push going, and not even a single tier 1 goal zone going down. Rework Respawn completely shut out. Maybe they can get one right before this ends, but even once again, the Talon is going to be going down. So this is for sure the end. Fusion, the only team, as we said earlier, that has repeated their wins in the monthly finals so far in this UCS season of 2024, is going to be the only team left in winners at the end of this bracket.
Unbelievable. Tempo just having what a amazing performance from them, honestly, lights out. You really waking up in that game number 2 when they grabbed that Zoroark, and then in game number 3, their Dodrio felt like all kinds of final boss, and congratulations to Fusion for being your first team to enter the grand finals of the Aeos Cup.